So this next lesson is on nets and geometric sketching, and the reason why we teach this is to give you a bit more of a perspective on how to think in 3 dimensions. So when you think of a 2-dimensional object like a square, for example, it's pretty easy to kind of visualize that just as a flat object. But when you're asked to think of an image like a cube, you can kind of picture it as something you can kind of rotate in your mind. You can see all the different sides of it. If you're asked to think of a triangular prism, you can imagine one triangular face and then rotate it around to look at the other triangular face. It's hard to sketch a 3-dimensional image, but what we're going to teach you here is how to sketch 3-dimensional images using isometrics, which helps to visualize a 3-dimensional image on a 2-dimensional sheet of paper. And we're also going to teach orthographic sketching, which is typically how you will see parts that are to be manufactured by at a factory or by construction workers. They'll get orthographic drawings of parts so that they can help put them together. So we'll start with isometric sketching, and here is an example of an isometrically drawn cube. So you can see the height, the base, and the width. You see one side is kind of shaded to sort of show a little bit of shadowing. You don't necessarily have to do that in mathematics, but it helps to see that this is a 3-dimensional object. Now, a way to draw 3-dimensional shapes is using isometric dot paper. So if I was asked to draw a 3-unit by 2-unit by 5-unit rectangular prism, I can draw it on the isometric dot paper, which is dot paper that is where the dots are slightly askew, by showing my height of 3. Sorry, it's hard to show that. I can't really highlight it. By showing my height of 3, which would be this here, 1, 2, 3. My width of 2, which would be 1, 2. And then my length here from this point to this point covers 5 units. So let me show you how to draw that from scratch. So I'll switch over to my camera here, and let's imagine we're drawing a, this is 1 centimeter dot paper, so every space here is 1 centimeter. So let's imagine that I'm drawing we'll say it's a 6 centimeter by 3 centimeter by 1 centimeter rectangular prism. So I should start with my 6 centimeters. I will draw that about here. So that will cover 6 centimeters. So 6 of these spaces. That's 1 space, 2 space, and actually I should be using a ruler, so I'll grab that now. I'll count the spaces after. It's 6 centimeters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. By 3 centimeters. So I need to go at an angle down to 3 centimeters. 1, 2, 3. And I'll continue down here. 1, 2, 3. And then I need to draw this up as well to connect these. So this is another height of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. My width here is 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Now I need my length of 1 centimeter. That's 1 centimeter. That's 1 centimeter. And that's 1 centimeter. And then I just need to connect this box together. So if I connect these here and this here, I now have a 6 by 3 by 1 rectangular prism. Oops. We'll talk about that later. So let's move on to orthographic drawings. So it says, while isometric images are used to easily visualize a three-dimensional object, they're not as useful as creating a live model of the object. So orthographic projection is used to represent a three-dimensional object in 2 dimensions. This is done by showing the front, top, and side of a three-dimensional object. These orthographic objects make it easier to fabricate an object, and they can be used to show features of an object that could only be seen by rotating the object. So the example here is that same 3 by 2 by 5 rectangular prism. If we listed that, or if we broke that up into its front, top, and side, you would see the front would be a 2 by 3, the top would be a 2 by 5, and the side would be a 3 by 5. Let's do the same thing with our 6 centimeter by 3 centimeter by 1 centimeter object on square dot paper. So if you recall, we're going to make this object into an orthographic projection. So just using this, I can label this as the front, this is the top, and this is the side. So I'll keep that on screen. Top, front, and side. Actually, I'm going to do it this way so that I don't cover it when I draw. The first thing I need to do is make my front, which is a 6 by 3 box. So I will make this 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'll make a 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And 1, 2, 3. So this is my front. You don't have to label it with the F on the box, but I'll just do it for now. My top is going to be 3 by 1. That's my top. And my side is going to be 6 by 1. That is my side. So that's my orthographic projection of this image. Notice how I've only skipped one space between, and my top is on top of the front, and my side is on the side of the front. If it wasn't shown like this, it's not a correct orthographic projection. So you can't draw the side over here and the top over here. You need to draw them front, top above, side on the side. So before we move on to nets, I'm going to talk a bit about scales as well. And when we're looking at a scale, let's imagine instead of being asked to draw a 6 by 3 by 1 object, let's say I'm asked to draw a, let's say it's a 5 kilometer, and actually kilometers are too big, a 5 millimeter by 15 millimeter by 20 millimeter object. So in this case, what I need to come up with first is a scale. So if I say that for every 1 centimeter, it is 5 millimeters, then I can draw this 5 by 15 by 20 millimeter cubed object using this square dot paper and an appropriate scale. So if I'm going to draw this, I first list the scale, 1 centimeter to 5 millimeters, It's going to be 5 millimeters by 15 millimeters by 20 millimeters. So this will end up looking like a 1 centimeter by 3 centimeter by 4 centimeter rectangular prism. So let's start with my 1 centimeter. And then I have my 3 centimeters. 1, 2, 3. And then my 4 centimeters. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And 1, 2, 3, 4. So now I've drawn this object with an appropriate scale. This is my 5 millimeter by 15 millimeter by 20 millimeter object shown with a scale of 1 centimeter to 5 millimeters. We'll go back to the lecture so that we can talk about the last part of this lecture, which is on nets. So it says up here the three-dimensional objects can also be shown in 2 dimensions by using a net, and a net is a pattern that can be folded into a 3-dimensional solid. So this cylinder that's shown here can be represented as a net because it has 3 faces. It's got the circular face on the top, the circular face on the bottom, and the rounded rectangular face on the side. Some other nets that you can see are some nets of a cube would be shown there. For a triangular prism, it is 3 rectangular faces that are the same and 2 triangle faces that are the same. And a triangular pyramid is shown there as well. Now when you have a cube, all the faces are the same, but if you have a rectangular prism, those faces might not necessarily be all the same. So just keep that in mind. So let's go through these sample questions here, these support questions. It says, sketch an isometric drawing of this object that's shown orthographically. So it looks like this is a 2 by 2 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 2 by 2 by 7. So I will show you how to draw that. If it's 2 by 2 by 7, it will look something like this. This is going to be, I'm going to have to do this, just draw it this way so that I can fit it. It doesn't work that way. So 2 by 2 by 7. So 1, 2. That's another 2, and that's another 2. So just like that, and then by 7, so I have to make this part 7 units long. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This has got to go over here, sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this has got to go a bit here, and I should actually draw it. I'm going to redraw this on top. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so now we have our 2's here and here. And that's my 2 by 2 by 7 object. That's the orthographic, or the isometric drawing of the orthographic sketch. Number 2 says to sketch a net and an orthographic drawing of a triangular prism with triangular side lengths of 25 and a length of 40 using an appropriate scale. So let's look back. First we have to figure out the scale. So if we have a side length of 25 centimeters and 40 centimeters, I could divide these both by 5. So let's make a scale of 1 centimeter to 5 centimeters. This then becomes, this 25 becomes a 5 centimeter, and the 40 becomes an 8 centimeter. And it says that our side lengths are 5 centimeters each. So I'm gonna have to draw this way because I need a lot more space. So my my front face is going to be a triangle. Draw it a little bit down more. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 centimeters. My height is going to be 5 centimeters. So 1, 2, 3, 4, sorry, my height won't be 5 centimeters. In this case, I need to have angles of 60 degrees, so I can't just go off this 45. It's a little bit difficult to draw this, but I do have my ruler here. So I can label my 5 centimeters, which would be at this point, the midway point. I need to have 5 centimeters. So, just like that. And then I would have to make my other side. Now, that is my front. My top is going to actually be, it's going to be 8 centimeters long, so I don't have the space for it. But it will look like this. That will continue on for 8 centimeters. And then this side is just a rectangular prism. Where the height is actually a bit askew. It's a little bit like halfway through. So this is my my orthographic sketch of that. I was also asked to do a, I think it was a net as well. So to sketch the net of this, what I would need, I can write my scale down again, 1 centimeter to 5 centimeters. I have to make my triangle, that's 5 by 5 by 5. So let me start by making the triangle up here. 5 centimeters. At 2.5, I need to be at the halfway point, so I'm going to sketch a line here. I need to make this 5 centimeters to that line, and 5 centimeters to this line. And then I need to make this 8 centimeters wide. There's going to be 5 centimeters between each of these, so I'm going to make a 15 centimeter long line. And at the 10, I'm going to draw a line going up by 8 centimeters. Another line that goes up to 8 centimeters. And then lastly, I have to draw another triangle here. This is going to be at the 2.5 again. I need a line just to help me draw this. And 5 centimeters to this line. Be here. And then back. So this is my net of that object. And then the last question says sketch an isometric drawing and an orthographic drawing and a net of the 4 meter by 5 meter by 1 meter object using an appropriate scale. I'll leave that one for you. You can see these kind of take a little bit of time to draw these out, but they're not terribly difficult as long as you're using a ruler and you're using isometric paper and square dot paper to help.